Welcome to chapter 26 of the book of Jeremiah. It begins in Archi, in the beginning of the reign of King Joachim Vasileos. In Archi Vasileos Joachim, Eosiu came the Logos, Utos, this word, Parakiriou, from the Lord. So now we have another writing of Jeremiah, writing down of what the word from the Lord that came to him is. And we're given a time reign here. It was the time of the reign of King Jehoiakim, who was the king after Jehoiahaz, who was his brother, who reigned just a short period of time and was taken by Pharaoh Necho to Egypt. And Jehoiakim became a king set up by Necho, and he reigned, I believe it was 11 years. And so this is at the beginning of the reign of Jehoiakim, not too far after Josiah, who Jeremiah also lived during, good King Josiah. What was the word? Thus said the Lord, stand in the courtyard of the house of the Lord. And that's in the imperative, stand there. And you shall execute to all Judah coming to do obeisance in the house of the Lord all the words which I ordered to you to execute to them. You should not remove a thing. So we'll go up to this, the temple, and we'll give an idea. There's the temple. So he was someplace out in here probably where he is going to speak, and they'll go into the ears of the clergy, the priesthood, basically. And all the ones doing obeisance in the house of the Lord, the whole temple area. So it could have been outside in the courtyard. And he says to them, tells them not to remove a thing. And God says, perhaps they shall hear and shall be turned each from his evil way, and I will cease from the bad things which I devise to do to them because of their evil practices. And I look at today, Israel is again a country, and will they hear? Maybe God is saying perhaps they will hear, turn from their evil way, which I see that they are doing, but I'm not living there, so I just see through, as Paul said, through a glass darkly. But I don't see anything coming from Israel that gives me hope that they are doing the things of God and telling other people the wonderful things of God. It's strange that all the Christians are now the ones doing that, and of course they're being persecuted. And then when the focus is put onto the Jews, and then Jesus being crucified, and them having said the curse be upon us and our children, they don't like to hear that, so they come against people that, Christians that do this. So they are still pretty much doing the same thing as they did 2,000 years ago of ignoring the things of God. But he is hoping that they will change from their evil practices. And you shall say, thus said the Lord, if you should not hearken to me to go by my laws, which I put before your face, to listen to the words of my servants the prophets, whom I sent to you at dawn, Jeremiah being one, for I sent, and you hearken not to me, then I will appoint this house as Shiloh, and this city I will appoint for a curse to all the nations of the earth. I look at the same thing possibly today. This is the appointment that Babylon, the harlot city, Jerusalem, is in store for. But he mentions how Shiloh, and Shiloh was where the Ark of the Covenant came up out of the wilderness with Moses, and then Moses died. Joshua took over, and when they came into the Holy Land, they put the Ark at Gilgal, and then it was there a period of time, and then it was moved to Shiloh, which is about 10 miles north of Bethel. And it's in the West Bank today. It would be what's in the West Bank today. And it was moved to Shiloh, and it was in Shiloh from the end of Joshua to the prophet Samuel. But when the Ark of the Covenant was taken, when they took it out of Shiloh and they went out to the battlegrounds with Eli's sons, the Ark was taken, and many people think at that time the Philistines attacked Shiloh and destroyed it because it no longer was the center. Bethel became the center. And that was 300 years before this period of time that we're reading about right now. So God is saying, well, you hearken not to me, so I'm going to appoint this house as Shiloh and this city. Well, there's no house right now, but there is a city of Jerusalem, has been rebuilt. And he says, I will appoint for a curse to all the nations of the earth. So Jerusalem will be appointed a curse to all the nations of the earth. I wonder if the same thing of the Babylon, Jerusalem, the harlot city in the book of Revelation, is basically the same thing going on today or even in the future. And they heard Jeremiah speaking these words in the house of the Lord. That is, the priests and the false prophets and all the people. It's interesting how he brings in the false prophets. Pseudo-prophete, a prophete, prophet, and pseudo, false. We have the word pseudo for false. So that was in that, again, we'll go back, and that was, then they heard, because they were all doing all these things. There's many, many priests going around having different various jobs, and they were listening to what Jeremiah had to say, and he wasn't saying anything that they wanted to hear, just as the Jews today don't want to hear the things about Jesus. It's like if you try to say anything about Jesus and compared with the Jews, then they become very upset and angry. Not all of them, of course, but some. And it came to pass of Jeremiah ceasing speaking all which the Lord ordered to him to say to all the people, that they seized him, who? The priests and the false prophets and the people, saying, to death he shall die. For you prophesied in the name of the Lord, saying, this house will be as Shiloh, and this city shall be made desolate of one's dwelling in it. And all the people held an assembly against Jeremiah in the house of the Lord. So they come out, arrest him, and then because he's prophesying in the name of the Lord, and they don't believe that he's a prophet, and not speaking good things about the city, saying that it's going to be desolate. So they held an assembly of these Sanhedrin or whatever against Jeremiah in the house of the Lord. So now Jeremiah is again in that area, and they're setting up a tribunal to judge him. And the rulers of Judah heard these words and ascended from out of the house of the king. And that was a little bit away, further lower down in Jerusalem. And they went unto the house of the Lord and sat in the thresholds, of the new gate of the Lord. And that was probably in the gate of the temple. And the priests and the false prophets said to the rulers and to all the people, a judgment of death belongs to this man, for he prophesied against this city as you heard in your ears. So they are saying that he should be killed. That reminds me of here later, then what happened, it says, then the chief priest tore his garments, saying that, and Jesus being the one saying, he blasphemed. What still need do we have of witnesses? See, now you heard his blasphemy. What do you think? And they responding said, he is liable of death. And they spat in his face and buffeted him and some slapped, saying, prophesy to us, Christ, who is the one hitting you? So Jesus was prophesying, and so they didn't want to hear Jesus either later, just as they didn't want to hear Jeremiah. And today, are they going to listen to these the prophecy of the future uh, of Jerusalem and the harlot city? And Jeremiah said to all the rulers and to all the people, saying, The Lord sent me to prophesy against this house and against this city all the words which you heard. They're from God. And now you make your ways better in your works, and hearken to the voice of the Lord your God. I move the to because hearken to, the voice, just should be the, because to would be dative and it would be the different Greek word. Hearken to the voice of the Lord your God, and the Lord will cease from the evils which he spoke against you. So change your ways, make your ways better, he says, and your works. But they didn't. And they didn't at the time of Christ, and they're probably not going to now. And behold, I am in your hands. Do to me as is advantageous to you, and as best for you. Go ahead and do it. Kill me if you want, but only in know that if you do away with me, you have imputed innocent blood against you and against this city and against the ones dwelling in it. And that was sort of almost the same thing that Pontius Pilate said, that innocent blood and that's going to be imputed against you and against the city and against the ones dwelling in it. Okay, now go further to where Pilate was there, and they said that his blood be upon us and our children, which I believe is not just that generation, but generations from then on. Because if you said only that one generation, then every place all the blessings were, then it's only for one generation and not for other generations. So you can't have it both ways. So the innocence of Jesus, innocence of Jeremiah is being brought out here. For in truth, the Lord has sent me to you to speak into your ears all these words. What I'm saying is from the Lord. That's it. And same with Jesus. And the rulers and all the people said to the priests and to the false prophets, There is not due to this man a judgment of death, for upon the name of the Lord our God he spoke to us. And that's what Pontius Pilate is. He's not guilty of anything worthy of death, but yet they wanted him dead. But here, and that was worse than what happened to Jeremiah, but here it says, And there rose up men of the elders, presbyteron of the Gees of the land, and spoke to all the gathering of people, saying, now there's all these people are there, and this trial is going on, and they, and these more or less the righteous ones of the elders said, Micaias o Morasthetes, Micah the Morashite, who wrote the book of Micah the prophet, was a prophet, prophetis, in tes imeres Ezekiel Vasileos Iuda, prophet in the days of Hezekiah, earlier. And he spoke to all the people of Judah, saying, and you can go back and read Micah, Thus said the Lord of the Dynamion, Zion shall be plowed as a field, and Jerusalem will be for a vacant storehouse of fruits. And the mountain of the house shall be turned into a sacred grove. That's going to be wiped out. And then they said, well, did by doing away Hezekiah king of Judah and all Judah do away with him? No, they didn't. He didn't. Was it not they feared the Lord? And they beseeched in front of the Lord, and the Lord ceased from the evils which he spoke against them. So they recognized Micah and his words as coming from God. And we did great evils against our souls at that time. And there was another man prophesying in the name of the Lord, just as Jeremiah, Uriah, the son of Shemaiah from out of Kiriath-Jearim, and he prophesied concerning this city and concerning this land according to all the words of Jeremiah, saying the same thing. And King Jehoiakim and all the rulers that is the current king, heard all his words and sought to kill him. And Urijah heard and feared and fled and entered into Egypt. F-O-V-I, the phobe, whenever you see the phobe, phobia, fearing. And the king, that is Jehoiakim, sent men into Egypt. Elnathan, son of Achbor, and men with him into Egypt. And this Elnathan was probably the same one it mentions in 2 Kings 24:8 as being Jehoiakim's mother. It was Nehushta, the daughter of Elnathan. So now Jehoiachin's mother. So Jehoiakim was his father, but Jehoiakim here is related to this Elnathan through marriage. And so they went into Egypt, and they led him from there and brought him to the king. And he, Jehoiakim, struck him by the sword and tossed him into the tomb of the sons of his people, whoever they were. Only the hand of Ahikam, Saphan, was with Iramiu, was with Jeremiah. Ahikam was the son of Shaphan, and earlier he was one of the 4 men that was sent to the prophetess Huldah during Josiah's reign to find out about when Josiah received the scroll that was found in the house of the Lord, and they brought it to Josiah. Then he sent these men to Huldah the priest, and one of them was this Ahikam, son of Shaphan. And then this Ahikam, he was the son of Shaphan. He was the father of Gedaliah. And Gedaliah becomes the governor of Judah after the king here is taken. Zedekiah, his brother, is taken by Nebuchadnezzar into Babylon. And so this Gedaliah then becomes the governor. He's not a king. So Zedekiah will be the last one. So this Ahikam, who then was the father of Gedaliah, that became the governor, was for Jeremiah so as to not deliver him into the hands of the people, so as not to do away with him. So here we see the ones that were against God are the clergy, and the ones that were not as much were the rulers and the people. Maybe not Jehoiakim, but other people that were important people in Israel. But as the leaders of a country and the clergy, when they're at fault, then the people suffer. So it's an important thing that when we elect a leader, that we elect the right person. But in those days, it was through primogeniture, that was through the heredity, the kingdom from the father, paternal heredity, and generally. And so these people didn't have a whole lot they could do about it, because whoever became king, and so it was through thousands of years with kingdoms in Europe and Christian nations. So when they had an evil king, then it affected the people. Now, we're living in a democracy since the late 1700s, and then other countries became democracies and they vote. But we see an exodus away from Christianity in Europe, when we see a lot of people becoming Christians in China. They say there's more Christians in China than there is in the United States. The United States is still a stronghold of Christianity, but Europe is falling by the wayside. Islam is taken over, and this has to do with God allowing it to happen. It has, and the people their turning away from God is the impetus of what happens that God has designed. And I believe that the end is near with the beast taking reign in Babylon, the harlot city of Jerusalem, and much, much worse things are going to be happening. Right now in 2018, we're sort of in the United States living in what you could call it almost a golden age. The new president is somewhat, pretty much conducive to Christianity, and maybe not the best ideal person himself that is doing the things of Christ-like, but yet he is backing up the Christians and changing things for the better for them. But I believe it's just a short respite until he's gone and the people want to get rid of Christians and Christianity. They don't know what they're doing, but it's going to turn into something really bad. Chapter 27 will continue in the next video seminar on bonds and collars. And we'll find out what that's all about. Hope you'll join us, and God bless.